Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. I just really wanted to come on and just talk about food because it's something that I one love to talk about and how we can have a healthy relationship with food. And for those of you who don't know who I am, hi, my name's Syra. I'm a quantum healer wellness coach. And this has been something that I have been working on for the past, I would say, 4 years now. And I didn't realize I had an unhealthy relationship with food until I quit drinking alcohol. I stopped partying and using other things as a crutch, and then started to really focus on myself and started to look at healthy eating and changing my health and lifestyle basically. And that's where I went on deep cleanses and fasting and water fasting, and I kind of transformed my life really in many ways. And I started to live more of a you could say raw vegan lifestyle, predominantly being raw vegan. And it absolutely shifted many things in my life. And it was the best time of my life, like being raw, predominantly raw. And I think I was fully raw for about a year and a half. And the certain foods I didn't have any desires for, and I didn't have any addictive patterns towards food at that time. But what I have started to notice that is many of us use food as an emotional crutch. And I started to witness, even though I was eating healthy, there was times when I was dealing with emotions that I would go to food and I would just overeat. And I would notice these patterns start to emerge where I would snack on healthy food and I would justify because it was healthy. And it really started to become very clear because I was starting to put weight on and I couldn't understand why my weight was increasing because I was healthy. I was eating plants. Why was I putting on weight? And I started to really question, okay, so I wasn't calorie counting or doing anything like that. I started to really look at what was going on. And I started to see I was overeating. And I was overeating because I was snacking and I would be going for dates and I go for peanut butter. And then over time, it was kind of like I was noticing these patterns would emerge where I'd be really healthy and do really well with the food. And then suddenly I would go into a pattern of going, oh, I'll have a bit of sourdough bread. And then suddenly potato started to come into my diet. And then suddenly I would have some chips. And then it would be like over a couple of days where I'd be like, oh my God, look what's happening. I'm suddenly eating cooked food and I'd have these cravings for cooked food. And then I'd literally binge on the cooked food because I'd be like, well, okay, I know I'm in a little bit of a pattern because I was very conscious and I know I'm not going to stay here and I know I'm going to get back to eating really healthy. So I started to justify my overeating with cooked food because it wouldn't last. And then I started to really see, oh my God, this is really an unhealthy pattern that I've got myself into. And then I'd come out of it and I'd be really healthy. I'd go to the gym and I'd start to feel good and I'd be really happy with the routine I've got. And I'd be up at 5:30 going, doing all these things and my practices. And then, and if something would happen, my emotions would come to the surface, or there'd be solar flares or, planetary full moons, whatever would be happening. And then suddenly I'd notice this pattern would come again. And suddenly I'm wanting sourdough bread and I'm wanting chips. And then I'd start to eat that way. And then I'd be eating out more. And then what would be something that I really started to notice was actually worse than actually eating the food was how I was so critical of myself and how I would self-sabotage and how I'd be in the suffering because of how I was judging myself, the shame, the guilt, and then go, right, that's it. Go back to eating healthy. And then I'd go back to juicing, or I'd do a juice cleanse was coming up. But because I knew a juice cleanse was coming up, I would binge even more. And so these cycles really started to happen. And the last one I had where I really started to notice that I am really using food because it's just me. It's a way for me to, one, get a dopamine hit. I get this reward, but actually it's stopping me from actually feeling my feelings. And I started to really ask myself, what is it that I'm avoiding feeling? And when I started to get really deep, it was moments of feeling lonely. When I felt lonely, I would go, instead of feeling the loneliness or boredom, which really was loneliness, I would go for food. And this is all subconscious. This is so deep, deep subconscious programming that I wasn't aware of consciously until I started to stop, look at the pattern that was going on, and say, I don't want to be in the cycle anymore. I just want to have a healthy relationship with food. And yeah, I'm eating healthy, but then there's moments where cooked food's coming in and I'm binging on it. And then it's affecting my weight, it's affecting how I show up, it's affecting all of these feelings I'm having, and then started to be critical of how I looked, and if I'm raw vegan or if I'm healthy and I promote this, I need to look a certain way, and it's dropping all of these expectations that we put on ourselves and just showing up. And so this is what I've been kind of dealing with over the past, I would say, like 6 months, really, to a year, because I've been watching these patterns come up, and it's been quite strong in a lot of ways. It's like even recently when I was noticing this pattern was coming up and I had family down, and family can really, like, they show food through love, particularly my family. And it's like, I don't want to miss out. And so if I'm going to be eating really clean, I can't go to the restaurant with them and have a curry. I can't do this. And so all of these stories started to come up. So it was like, no, I'm going to come with you. And my mum bought sourdough bread. And I said to her, do not let me have any of that bread, because once I start, I can't stop. I've got an addictive personality. And I know that about myself. And some people can have it, but I want to get to a point where, you know what, I can have some sourdough bread and it's not going to then perpetuate a cycle of, oh my God, I need to eat all the bread until it's gone because I don't want it in the house, or whatever that may look like. And so when we start really becoming clear and looking at our patterns, it really just highlights some deeper healing that is required. And some people just eat bread and they don't even think about it, and that's okay, right? But when you're on a deep journey and you're sensitive and you're really looking at all areas of your life where you're out of balance and you're using things like food as an emotional crutch, where alcohol might have been that for me before, and when I used to smoke, all of these things, now it's shifted. It's about getting to the root cause. And as a quantum healer, this is exactly what I do with my clients. And so I clear ancestral blockages, emotional blockages with them. We go back to ancestral lineages that could be 5 generations back, where it's from their father's side or their mother's side, and we work on that. And I bring through light language. So I've started to do this more myself, and just even today, just clearing beliefs around failure on my mum's side. And it's really so deep, and we really need to start looking at our belief systems and why are we doing or acting in a certain way and behaving in a certain way, and why do we have certain thoughts that are taking us away from what we consciously want for ourselves, and why do these patterns keep emerging. And for me, when I overeat or use food as an emotional crutch, it's a way of self-sabotaging. It's a way of me dealing with loneliness. It's a way of me feeling that I'm included and I'm not missing out. And it was a way of feeling love because I'm part of like something with the family. And also it could be ways of like feeling when I've not had any, it's really hard for me to explain really, because it could be so deep rooted around not feeling loved. And it's this like, I'm not lovable kind of. So because I'm not lovable, I'm just going to overeat because it doesn't matter what I look like because I'm not lovable. And so these are the kind of things that I've been getting really deep with. And this is what I help my clients with. But what about actually helping myself with these aspects? So what can we start to do when we start to notice these patterns coming forward in our lives? And awareness is absolutely key. Having self-awareness, self-inquiry, really start to look at the patterns, ask yourself the questions. Why am I self-sabotaging? Who is the person I want to be? What does that look like, this version of myself? If I want to be the best version of myself and show up as the best version of myself and really be in service to others, how do I want to show up? How do I want to be? And if I'm, how far away of that am I right now? And every time we make a choice, are we moving towards that version of ourselves, which is having a healthy relationship with food, in my case, and not using food as a crutch, using food as a way of nourishment, which I do most of the time. But like I say, for me, I go into these patterns when emotions come to the surface, which I'm struggling to deal with as a real sensitive person. And yet, you know, eating healthy and fasting has brought many, many benefits to me, like bringing through light language and opening my channeling abilities, and my intuition is heightened so much. But none of that's going to help me clear the belief systems unless I can identify them, unless I can really go into self-inquiry and really bring these belief systems to the surface. Then I can use light language to help shift them. Then I can bring in my guides to help shift those belief systems. But I need to identify them by really looking at them and asking myself, why am I acting this way? Why am I continually going into this cycle? And I did a beautiful fast not long ago, a 5-day water fast, which was challenging in itself, but great, because it brought up so much that I needed to work on. And this is all around receiving, and this is being open to being the feminine energy, more of the masculine energy, and not always being the doing. And that awareness was absolutely beautiful. And I really cleansed my body, and I really expanded my consciousness. And I saw a lot of these patterns that I keep falling into. And I was like, I'm not going to fall into this pattern again. But I said that, and guess what? An opportunity came, and I fell back into it, and family came. But again, as much as I'd started to judge myself and be critical and shaming myself when I was in it, I was like, oh my God, the realizations, the revelations that came off the back of it far outweighed, you know, all the weight that I put back on when I was on this water fast. And so now it's like, okay, identifying the person I really want to be, getting clear on who I want to be, and the relationship that I have with food, and how I can have the healthy relationship. And every time I have an urge to fall into this pattern, really stop and breathe and just sit with myself and say, okay, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling loneliness. I'm feeling boredom. I'm feeling sadness right now. Okay, so I have an urge, and my norm will be going, whether it's going to get an apple, whether it's going to get some dates, whatever it is, am I doing that to stopping myself from feeling my feelings? Because the only way to truly heal is to feel. And so now I'm really getting clear on that, and really allow myself to drop into my body, see where that emotion is, and just sitting with it. And then it'll come to the surface, and it'll move, and it'll be seen, and it'll cry, and whatever needs to happen will happen. And then that desire to go up and go and get the food disappears, it goes. And so it's becoming so self-aware, and really asking yourself, why am I acting in this way? Is it because I'm doing it because of a deep core wound, an emotion, and so I'm using this as a crutch? Or is it because I just need to nourish my body, and so my body's asking for food? And it might be that I go for some cooked food or whatever it is, and actually I need to do that, and that's okay. But it's really getting clear on what's happening at that time. And so being really clear with where you're at. And one is just giving yourself some compassion, self-compassion, self-love for wherever you are, and not judging yourself. It's so easy to fall into this, oh, you've done it again, like, look at what's happened. And I'm having to really get clear on self-love, self-compassion right now. And it's really important that we don't judge ourselves when these patterns show. And so if you are really struggling with addiction right now, or these patterns that keep coming to the surface, then I invite you to book in a call with me. I absolutely relate to this. It's something I'm really passionate about supporting people with because of the experiences I've had for myself. And I'm still navigating a lot of it, you know. And so I've got programs that are really going to help shift these patterns as well on the physical level, where we can shift out the cooked food, but also with my program and how I work on the subconscious and the emotional side of it, the elements of ancestral patterning and just patternings in general really help that. So I'll put all the details below, but one, just give some compassion to yourself if you do find yourself in these patterns, but you can absolutely shift them, because now I'm seeing how I've shifted out of this belief system of not feeling lovable or not feeling worthy to receive love, or, you know, loneliness, and why this is all being transferred into me wanting to use food as that crutch or that way of feeling, when really none of that needs to happen, and we just can allow ourselves to be in that present moment and feel what needs to come to the surface with so much love and compassion for ourselves. And so I hope this has been really useful, and please like and subscribe and share this with others who may also find this useful as well. Thank you for watching, and yes, have a blessed day, everybody.